Are you tired of working hard and still having nothing? Tired of watching your paycheck disappear before the month even ends? Tired of doing everything right and still feeling like you're falling behind? If that's you, you are not alone. And today, something changes. This lesson is for English learners who are ready to think differently about money. Because what I'm going to share with you today is not taught in school. It's not on the news. Most people go their entire lives without ever hearing it. And that is exactly why most people stay poor. Here's what I want you to understand before we begin. Poverty is not just about how much money you have. Poverty is a way of thinking. It is a set of beliefs that were given to you when you were very young. Beliefs about what money is, where it comes from, and who deserves to have it. And until you change those beliefs, nothing else will change. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. Read that line again. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. That one idea, that single shift in thinking, is the difference between a life of struggle and a life of freedom. In this lesson, we are going to talk about 7 things the wealthy understand that most people never learn. 7 lessons that could change the direction of your financial life, starting today. We will talk about how you were trained to be poor without knowing it. We will talk about what assets really are and why the rich keep buying them. We will talk about your emotions around money and why they might be your biggest enemy. We will talk about the compound effect, income streams, the people around you. And finally, the moment everything changes. By the end of this lesson, you will not see money the same way. I promise you that. Now, if you're serious about changing your financial future, subscribe to this channel right now. There is more coming, a lot more, and you don't want to miss it. Let's begin. Lesson 1. You were trained to be poor. Think about every year you spent in school. Think about the subjects you studied: mathematics, science, history, literature. You learned how to solve equations. You learned the names of presidents and kings. You learned how to write an essay and how to read a map. But here is what nobody taught you. Nobody taught you how interest works. Nobody taught you what an investment is. Nobody taught you the difference between an asset and a debt. Nobody sat you down and said, here is how money moves in this world, and here is how you make it work for you. Here's the truth. The school system was not built to make you wealthy. It was built to make you useful. Useful to companies. Useful to employers. Useful to a system that needs workers far more than it needs owners. And so you graduated, you got a job, you started earning money, and because nobody taught you anything different, you did exactly what you were trained to do. You traded your time for money. You showed up. You worked. You got paid. You spent it, and then you showed up again. That is the cycle. And for most people, that cycle never breaks. There was a man named Marcus. He worked in a factory for 22 years. Good man, hard worker, never missed a shift. Every month he received his paycheck, and every month it was gone within 2 weeks. Rent, food, the car payment. A few small things that made him feel better after a long week. And then back to work. When Marcus turned 58, he sat down and looked at his life. 22 years of working. Thousands of hours. And what did he have to show for it? A small apartment he didn't own, a car that was almost paid off, and a bank account with enough money to survive maybe 3 months if he lost his job. Marcus wasn't lazy. Marcus wasn't stupid. Marcus was never taught. And that is the cruelest truth. It punishes people not for being bad, but for being uninformed. It takes your best years, your energy, your health, your time, and it gives you just enough to keep coming back. A poor mindset says, I can't afford it. A rich mindset asks, how can I afford it? One statement closes the door. The other opens a conversation. One keeps you exactly where you are. The other starts moving you forward. The moment you stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You have already begun to think differently. That shift, that tiny shift in language, is the beginning of everything. You were trained to earn, not to build, not to own, not to grow. But here is what nobody can take from you. The moment you understand that you can start unlearning it, and that is exactly what the rest of this lesson is going to help you do. Lesson 2. The rich buy assets. Everyone else buys things. Let me make this simple. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. That is the whole secret. And yet, most people spend their entire lives buying liabilities and calling them assets. Think about the things people buy when they get a raise. A bigger TV, a newer car, designer clothes, a more expensive apartment. These things feel like success. They look like success, but they are not building anything. They are consuming everything. Warren Buffett is one of the richest men who has ever lived. He started investing at the age of 11 years old. While other kids were spending their money on candy and games, Warren was buying small pieces of businesses. Not because he was a genius, but because someone taught him early that money can work while you sleep, that you can own something that grows while you go about your day. And here's the thing that will surprise you. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. A simple house, in a regular neighborhood. One of the wealthiest humans on earth, and he chose not to upgrade his house every few years. Not because he couldn't, because he understood something most people never will. Every dollar spent on a liability is a dollar that stops growing. The rich are not richer because they earn more. Many of them started with very little. They are richer because of what they choose to do with what they earn. Now think about your own life. Look around the place where you live. Look at the things you own. Ask yourself honestly, which of these things is putting money back into my pocket? Which of these is growing in value? Which of these is working for me while I sleep? A car loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. A phone is worthless in 3 years. Clothes wear out. Furniture gets old. These are not wrong things to buy. But they are not assets. And if all your money goes into them, you are building a life that looks full, but is financially empty. Consumers spend money the moment they get it. Builders pay themselves first, then spend what's left. Consumers buy things that feel good today. Builders buy things that pay them tomorrow. Consumers wake up at 50 with memories. Builders wake up at 50 with income. Which one are you building toward right now? A woman named Diana worked at the same company as her colleague Sandra. Same salary, same city, same starting point. But Diana liked beautiful things. New clothes every season, the latest phone, dinner at nice restaurants on weekends. She wasn't wasteful, she was just living. That's what she told herself. Sandra lived simply. Every month, without fail, she put a portion of her salary into a small investment account. She didn't think about it much, she just did it. Month after month, year after year. 10 years later, Sandra bought a house. Diana was still renting. Same salary, same city, same starting point, different choices. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes it out. Start counting which ones you have more of, and then, slowly, deliberately, start shifting the balance. That is how real wealth begins. Not with a windfall, not with luck, with a decision, made quietly, made consistently. Made today. Lesson 3. Your feelings about money are keeping you broke. Stay with me on this one, because this lesson is the one most people skip. And it might be the most important thing I say today. Money is not just a number. For most people, money is an emotion. It is tied to how they feel about themselves. It is tied to their childhood, to what their parents said and didn't say, to the fights they heard through the walls when they were young, to the shame of not having enough, to the relief of finally spending something on themselves after a hard week. And that emotional relationship with money, if you never examine it, will control every financial decision you make for the rest of your life. Think about this honestly. How do you feel when you save money? Does it feel good, or does it feel like punishment, like you are denying yourself something you deserve, like everyone else is living and you are just waiting? Now think about how you feel when you spend. That small rush, that moment of satisfaction, the brief feeling that you have treated yourself, that you have earned something, that life is good right now in this moment. That feeling is real. It is not weakness, it is human. But if that feeling is making your financial decisions for you, it is costing you your future. If you grew up watching your parents struggle, money feels dangerous. If you grew up hearing that rich people are greedy, wealth feels like something to be ashamed of. If every time you had money, something went wrong, your mind learned that money disappears, so you might as well spend it before it does. These are not logical beliefs, but they are powerful ones. And they live deep inside you, quietly shaping everything. There was a woman named Diana who knew she spent too much. She knew it. She wasn't blind to it. But every time she tried to save, something happened. A bad week at work, a fight with a friend, a hard day that just needed something nice at the end of it. And the savings disappeared again. It wasn't laziness, it was emotion. Her spending was not about the things she bought. It was about how buying them made her feel. Safe, in control, rewarded, worthy. The rich are not people without emotions. They are people who learned to separate emotion from financial decision-making. They feel the pull to spend. They feel it just like you do. But they built a system that makes the right choice automatic. They set up transfers that move money before they can feel anything about it. They pay themselves first, before emotion gets involved. When saving feels like punishment, you will always find a reason not to do it. When saving feels like freedom, like building something, like a quiet kind of power, you will protect it like something precious. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with a single question. Every time you are about to spend money, ask yourself, am I buying this because I need it or because of how I feel right now? You don't have to stop spending. You just have to start seeing. See the emotion behind the decision, name it, and then decide. Because here is what the wealthy understand that most people don't. The way you feel about money is not fixed. It is not who you are. It is something you learned. And anything you learned, you can unlearn. Anything you learned, you can replace. Anything you learned, you can change. When saving feels like freedom, you've changed your relationship with money. And when that happens, everything else begins to change too. Lesson 4. Small decisions today, big life tomorrow. Now think about this. Every financial decision you make today is a seed. You cannot see the tree yet. You cannot feel the shade yet. But it is growing, quietly, consistently, whether you are paying attention or not. This is what wealthy people understand at a level most people never reach. Wealth is not built in a moment. It is not a lottery ticket. It is not a sudden opportunity that falls into your lap. Wealth is built the way a tree grows, slowly at first, invisibly. And then one day you look up and the tree is enormous and you can barely remember planting the seed. Warren Buffett did not become the most successful investor in history because he was smarter than everyone else. He became who he is because he started early and he never stopped. He let time do the work. He understood something called the compound effect, and once you understand it, you will never look at small decisions the same way again. Here is how it works. Imagine you save a small amount of money every single month. Not a lot, just a consistent amount. And instead of keeping it in a regular bank account, you put it somewhere it can grow. An investment account, a simple index fund, something that earns you a return each year. At first, the growth feels almost invisible. After 1 year, you have a little more than you put in. After 3 years, slightly more. But then something starts happening. Your returns start earning returns. Your growth starts growing. the curve bends. And what felt slow for years suddenly starts moving faster than you can believe. He saved, he invested, he waited, he built. That is the entire formula. 4 steps, no shortcuts, no secrets. Just those 4 things done consistently over a long period of time. Most people quit before the curve bends. They save for 6 months, see almost nothing, and decide it isn't working. They pull the money out, they spend it, and they go back to zero. And 10 years later, they wonder why they have nothing. Quitters see the market fall and panic. Players see it fall and buy more. Quitters measure wealth in months. Players measure wealth in decades. Quitters want to feel rich today. Players are willing to be patient so they can actually be rich tomorrow. If this is hitting you, if you feel something shifting right now, subscribe to this channel. There is a lot more coming, and every lesson builds on the last. Hit subscribe right now and don't miss what comes next. Now back to the compound effect. The reason most people miss it is not because they don't understand the math. It's because they underestimate time. They think 10 years is too long. They think they'll start later when they have more money. But later never comes. And every year they wait is a year the curve doesn't bend in their favor. You don't need a lot of money to start. You need consistency. You need patience. You need the willingness to plant seeds you won't eat from for years. Wealth is not built in a year. It's built in a decade, one small decision at a time. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. And the compound effect is exactly how that happens. You put money into something that works, and then you leave it alone. And time, the most undervalued asset most people own, does the rest. Start small, start today, and never stop. Lesson 5. One paycheck is a trap. Hear me on this, because this lesson is one that most people feel uncomfortable with. Not because it is complicated, because it is true. And the truth, when it hits close to home, always feels a little uncomfortable. Most people have one source of income, one job, one paycheck, one stream of money coming in each month. And they have built their entire life around that one stream. Their rent depends on it. Their food depends on it. Their children depend on it. Everything they have and everything they are, financially speaking, is balanced on a single plank of wood floating in open water. And they call that security. Robert Kiyosaki spent decades trying to teach people this one idea. The financially free person is not the one with the biggest paycheck. The financially free person is the one whose money keeps coming even when they stop working. Income that arrives whether you show up or not. Income from assets, from investments, from things you built or bought that now work on your behalf. He called it the difference between working for money and having money work for you. And he said most people never cross that line. Not because they can't, because nobody ever showed them the line existed. Think about your own life right now. If you lost your job tomorrow, how long could you survive? 1 month? 3 months? 6 months? Most people, if they are completely honest, would feel genuine panic at that question. Because one stream disappearing means everything disappears. That is not security. That is fragility wearing the mask of stability. Now think about a person with 3 streams of income. Maybe a salary from their job. Maybe a small rental income from a property they saved to buy. Maybe dividends from a simple investment account they have been building for years. If one stream slows down, the other 2 keep flowing. They don't panic. They adjust. They keep moving. That is what financial resilience looks like. Not luxury. Not millions. Just more than one stream. 99% of people work for money their whole lives. 1% put their money to work. 99% depend on a single employer to decide their financial fate. 1% build systems that pay them regardless of what any employer decides. The gap between those 2 groups is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even starting capital, though, that helps. The gap is understanding. The 99% were never taught to think in streams. They were taught to find a good job and hold on to it. The 1% learned somehow, somewhere, that the job is just the beginning, not the destination. You don't build a second income stream overnight. Nobody does. But you begin by asking a different question. Instead of asking, how do I earn more from my job? Start asking, what can I build, buy, or create that will pay me even when I am not working? That question will take time to answer, but asking it is the first step. And the first step is the most important one. Don't build a boat with one plank. Because when that plank cracks, and sometimes in life it does, you need something else keeping you above the water. Start thinking in streams. Start small. Start with one extra thing, one small investment, one side project that could grow, one asset that works while you sleep, and build from there. Because the trap is not the job. The trap is believing the job is enough. Lesson 6. The people around you are making you poor. Listen carefully. This one is personal, and it might be the hardest lesson in this entire video to hear. Not because it is complicated, because it requires you to look at the people you love and ask a very difficult question. Are the people around you lifting you toward wealth, or are they pulling you away from it? Jim Rohn was a man who grew up with very little. A farm boy from Idaho who spent his early 20s going nowhere, working small jobs, dreaming small dreams, surrounded by people who never expected more from life than what they already had, and so he never expected more either. Until one day a mentor sat him down and said something that changed everything. He said, "Jim, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Jim Rohn went on to become one of the most influential voices in personal development. He built wealth. He built a legacy. And for the rest of his life, he credited that one idea as the turning point. Not a business strategy, not a financial product, a simple truth about human nature, that we become what surrounds us. Think about the 5 people you spend most time with right now. Not your heroes, not people you follow online, the actual people in your daily life. The ones you eat with, talk with, spend your weekends with. What do they talk about? Do they talk about ideas, opportunities, goals, growth? Or do they talk about other people, complaints, problems, with no solutions, and why life is unfair? What do they believe about money? Do they believe wealth is something you build deliberately over time? Or do they believe rich people are just lucky or greedy or somehow different from people like them? What is their relationship with their own finances? Are they growing, saving, investing, building? Or are they stuck spending, struggling, and accepting that as normal? If the people around you normalize struggle, struggle will feel normal to you. If the people around you normalize growth, growth will feel normal to you. It is not dramatic, it is not sudden. It happens slowly, the way water shapes stone, day by day, conversation by conversation. Belief by belief. There was a young man, call him Theo, 26 years old, decent job, average savings. His closest friends were good people, funny people, people he had known since school. But their favorite topics were complaints about their bosses, which restaurant to go to on the weekend, and why nobody in their group ever seemed to get ahead. Theo didn't blame them. He loved them. But one day, he started spending time with a different group, people a few years ahead of him, people who talked about investments at dinner, people who got excited about business ideas the way his old friends got excited about football scores. Within 1 year, Theo had opened his first investment account. Within 2 years, he had started a small side business. Within 3 years, his income had nearly doubled, not because he was smarter than before, because his standard had shifted. Because what felt normal to him had changed. If you're in a circle that doesn't talk about growth, you don't have to abandon the people you love, but you do have to add new voices. Read books written by people who built what you want to build. Listen to people who have walked the path you want to walk. Spend more time, even digitally, with minds that expand yours. Show me your 5 closest friends, and I'll show you your financial future. That is not a judgment, it is a map. And maps exist so you can change direction when you need to. Lesson 7. The moment you decide to be different. Pause for 1 second. We have talked about 7 things today. The mindset you were trained to have, the difference between assets and liabilities, the emotional grip money has on most people, the power of small decisions compounding over time, the danger of one income stream, the people who shape your financial ceiling. And now we arrive at the final lesson, the one that ties everything together, the one that either makes all of this mean something or lets it fade away like every other video you've ever watched and forgotten by morning. The moment you decide to be different. Oprah Winfrey was born in rural Mississippi in 1954. She was born into poverty so deep that she wore dresses made from potato sacks as a child. She grew up in a house with no running water. She was raised by a grandmother who had nothing but love and discipline to offer. By every external measure, Oprah was born into a life with a ceiling so low she would never be able to stand up straight. And yet, Oprah didn't just escape poverty. She built one of the most powerful media empires the world has ever seen. A woman who started with nothing, who had every reason to accept the life she was handed, decided at some point, quietly and completely, that she was not going to be defined by where she started. She didn't wait for luck. She didn't wait for someone to rescue her. She developed skills. She built relationships with people who were going somewhere. She took ownership of her story instead of being owned by it. She invested in herself before she ever had money to invest in anything else. And here is what Oprah understood that most people around her did not. Your past is not your sentence. Your circumstances are not your identity. Where you started is not where you have to end. Most people live their whole financial lives in reaction mode. Money comes in, they react. Bills arrive, they react. An emergency happens, they react. They are never building, they are only responding. And responding to life is not the same as designing it. The wealthy live in intention mode. They decide in advance what their financial life will look like. They set targets. They build systems. They make the important decisions once and then let the systems run. They are not reacting. They are building. You were not born poor. You were born without information. That is the difference between you and the person you want to become. Not talent, not luck. Not the neighborhood you grew up in, or the school you went to, or the family you were born into. Information. Access to the right ideas at the right time. And right now, in this moment, you have that information. So the question is no longer, why do poor people stay poor? You know why. You've known it since lesson 1. Because nobody taught them. Because their emotions controlled their decisions. Because they had one income stream and a circle that normalized struggle. Because they never understood assets or compound growth or the power of deciding intentionally. You know all of that now. The question is only this: what will you do with what you know? Because information without action is just entertainment. You can watch this video, feel something, agree with everything, and wake up tomorrow doing exactly what you did yesterday. Most people will. That is why most people stay poor. But not you, not today. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. And that starts not with a bank account, not with an investment, not with a second income stream. It starts with a decision made right now, in this moment, that your financial life is going to look different from this point forward. You were not born poor. You were born without information. Now you have it. The only question left is simple. What will you do with it? So let's bring it all together. 7 lessons. 7 truths that most people will never learn because nobody ever sat them down and told them. but you heard them today, and that matters. Lesson 1. You were trained to be poor. The school system built you to be a worker, not an owner. That was never your fault. But now you know, and now it is your responsibility. Lesson 2. The rich buy assets. Everyone else buys things. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes it out. Start shifting the balance, one decision at a time. Lesson 3. Your feelings about money are keeping you broke. Spending feels good because it was designed to feel good. Saving feels like freedom when you change the story you tell yourself about it. Change the story. Lesson 4. Small decisions today build big lives tomorrow. The compound effect does not care how much you start with. It only cares that you start and that you don't stop. Lesson 5. One paycheck is a trap. Build more than one stream. Start small. Start with one thing, but start. Lesson 6. The people around you are shaping your financial future right now. Add new voices. Raise your standard. Let your circle expand toward where you want to go. Lesson 7. The moment you decide to be different is the moment everything changes. Not the moment you get more money, the moment you decide. That moment is available to you right now, today. You were not born poor. You were born without information. Now you have it. Now you have no excuse. Now the only thing standing between you and a different financial life is a decision. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. That is not a privilege reserved for the lucky few. It is a skill, a mindset, a set of habits anyone can learn. Anyone who is willing to unlearn what they were taught and replace it with something better. That someone can be you. If this lesson moved you, if even one idea landed differently today, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 7 lessons changed the way you think about money. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because this is just the beginning. There is so much more coming. More lessons, more truths, more of what they never taught you in school. Keep listening every day, and your mind will grow with your wallet. See you in the next one.